I always thought the worst thing that could happen while playing a horror game was maybe needing therapy afterwards. But turns out some of these games can actually land you in prison. And the scariest part isn't even the games themselves. So like picture this, you're at Doritos headquarters in 2008 and someone in marketing goes, what'll make people buy more chips? Psychological trauma. And somehow everyone just nods and says, yeah, that makes sense. Hotel 626 was basically Doritos trying to prove they could scare you worse than their flamin' hot flavors. The game only worked between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. because apparently being terrified during business hours would probably hurt productivity or something. You played this guy stuck in a haunted hotel, which sounds pretty normal for a horror game, right? Wrong. See, here's where Doritos went completely insane. The game wanted access to your webcam and your phone number. Not like for fun little Easter eggs like that new horror game coming out where the monster can see you. No, this thing would literally call your actual phone while you were playing. Picture you're sitting there at 2 a.m. trying to solve some creepy puzzle and then your phone rings. You pick up and there's just breathing. Or whispers. SpongeBob, they're all out of mayonnaise. Or whatever fresh nightmare the Doritos marketing team cooked up that day. Like, imagine explaining that to someone. Oh, why am I having a panic attack? Well, a snack food company called me in the middle of the night because I wanted to play their free horror game. That's not a sentence any human should have to say. I don't think any human has said that sentence before. I might be the first one. But here's the twist. Nobody actually banned Hotel 626. Because Doritos looked at what they created, saw people having actual mental breakdowns over corn chip marketing, and just deleted it. They basically said, you know what, maybe terrorizing people for snack sales was a bad idea, which honestly shows more self-awareness than most companies have. The official government reason was privacy stuff. Turns out people don't love giving random websites access to their cameras and phones. Weird, right? But really, I think someone at Doritos realized they'd accidentally made something that could probably qualify as psychological warfare. Picture the board meeting. So good news and bad news, Jimmy. Good news, people definitely remember our brand now. Bad news, mostly because they're sending us their therapy bills. The wildest part, no laws were even broken, unlike the other movies we're going to talk about in this video. No one got arrested. Hotel 626 just vanished into the internet void, like it never existed, which is honestly kind of perfect because now it's this urban legend that sounds too ridiculous to be real. Remember that time Doritos made a horror game that called your phone? Sounds like something a YouTuber with under 150,000 subscribers would make up to his audience. Of course, some games don't get to quit before the government steps in. But look, if you're enjoying this type of content, hit the like button and subscribe because apparently I spend my free time researching which video games can get you arrested. My mother is so proud of me. I hope. So We Happy Few is this game that looks like a 1960s kids show had a really bad acid trip. Everyone's walking around in bright colors, smiling like maniacs because they're all taking this drug called joy. Sounds fun, right? Wrong. It's basically what would happen if Prozac was mandatory and distributed by the government. The whole point of the game is that you play someone who stops taking the happy pills and suddenly realizes, oh wait, our entire society is completely messed up. Like when you sober up at a party and realize everyone's just standing around eating chips and staring at the wall. Except instead of chips, it's mind control drugs. And instead of a wall, it's, well, probably still a wall, but like a dystopian one. But Australia looked at this game and went, hey, stop! This game has drugs in it that make things easier. That's basically teaching kids that drugs are good, which honestly is like watching Scarface and thinking it's a business tutorial. The whole game is literally about how taking drugs to stay happy is bad. That's the entire message. It's not subtle about it. And don't even argue with me saying, oh, they're like saying that like antidepressants are bad or not. That's not what they're trying to say. Antidepressants are good if you need them, but like real drugs, stay away from that stuff, guys. So Australia banned it, just straight up said, nope, you cannot sell this here because apparently their classification board consists of people who've never seen irony before. It's like banning 1984 because it has too much government control in it. You're missing the fucking point so hard, it's actually impressive. Picture the meeting when this happened. Some guy's like, well, when you take the joy drug, your character feels better temporarily. And everyone just nodded like that was enough evidence. Nobody thought to ask, but what happens about that? Or what's the actual lore about? Just white suits saying, drugs make game easier, drug bad, bad game. Case closed. The best part, they eventually reversed the ban. Someone finally played it past the first 10 minutes and realized, oh, this is actually about why drugs are terrible. So now you can buy it in Australia, but only if you're 18 or older, because apparently understanding basic storytelling requires a college degree now. The game literally shows you that the benefits of joy are fake. Your character sees through the illusion and everything's actually falling apart. But sure, Australia, this is definitely encouraging drug use, just like how zombie movies are encouraging cannibalism. But misunderstanding a game's message is nothing compared to banning gore outright. Left 4 Dead 2 is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You and 3 friends shoot zombies. That's it. That's the whole video game. It's like if someone made a video game version of every zombie movie ever, except you get to be the guy who actually hits his shots instead of missing the zombie standing 2 feet away. Thing is, when you shoot a zombie in this game, stuff happens. Body parts come off, blood goes everywhere, which I mean makes sense, right? If you hit something with a shotgun, it's probably not gonna stay in one piece. Basic physics. But apparently, Germany looked at this and thought, this is too realistic. People might think this is how guns actually work. So Germany banned it, not because of zombies, those are fine apparently, not because you're killing things, that's also fine, but because when you kill the things, they look like they've been killed. That's just how killing works, Germany. That's not a video game thing, that's just cause and effect. The censored version they made for Germany is hilarious. They turned all of the zombies into robots. So now you're fighting a robot apocalypse, which honestly sounds a little bit more scary than zombies. Like zombies are just dead people who are cranky about it. Robots, those things are organized. They have malicious Wi-Fi and my browser history. I don't want robots near me. But here's what kills me. The game has baseball bats, crowbars, axes, all kinds of stuff you can hit zombies with. And Germany was fine with the hitting part. They just didn't want to see the results. It's like being okay with cooking, but getting upset when food gets hot. That's what cooking does, guys. Australia also banned it at first, which is funny because Australia is a place where literally everything can kill you. Drop bears, spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that look at you funny and you die, but zombie violence in a video game? Too far. The best part is Germany finally lifted the ban in 2021, 12 years later. Someone finally realized that maybe, just maybe, adults can handle seeing fake blood from fake zombies without becoming serial killers. Revolutionary thinking. Like by the time they lifted the ban, people had probably killed millions of zombies in other games. But sure, these specific zombies were the dangerous ones. I've never understood when governments or people get upset when an adult wants to do something. As long as it is legal and doesn't hurt anyone else, who cares? That is none of your business. But of course, gore is nothing compared to when games start to mess with your head. Outlast 2 is a game where you play a guy whose wife gets kidnapped by a crazy cult, and you have to find her. Sounds pretty standard, right? Guy saves girl, cult is weird, everyone goes home. Except this cult thinks the wife is carrying the Antichrist, which is already a red flag for any relationship. Chupacabro's dating advice for you, do not date someone who is carrying the Antichrist. It will probably not work out for you. And if I've seen any amount of horror movies, usually a big demon comes out of places babies come out of, and that looks painful. Like they're not like baby size deep, they're pretty big deep. You get what I'm trying to say? It's gonna hurt, and you don't want to be around for that. I'd probably faint. Women scare me. The whole thing is basically a really long game of hide and seek, except if you lose, you get murdered by religious fanatics. You can't fight back or anything. You just run around with the camera, filming your own psychological breakdown. But here's where it gets weird. There's this one scene where the main guy has a hallucination. Not real life, a hallucination in his head. And in this dream thing, some demon creature does inappropriate stuff to him. It's not graphic, it's not interactive, it's just this creepy nightmare sequence that lasts like 30 seconds, which is pretty bad. Well, Australia looked at this and lost their minds. They banned the entire game because of a dream. A fake dream in a fake game about fake people. Imagine if Australia banned Inception because Leonardo DiCaprio had a bad dream in it. That's basically what happened here. The classification board said it showed implied Not very nice thing to do to another person, violence, if you get my drift. And that was too much, which like is kind of weird because it is a video game. It's only made for adults. This type of stuff exists in movies, and I'm not saying it's great that it's in movies, but at the end of the day, it's an adult playing the game, which is, I don't know, it's part of storytelling. That's just, sometimes you deal with that subject matter. In the game, the character isn't even sure it's real within the game. It's literally them having a nightmare with a demon. It's not even another person. But then someone actually played the game. Revolutionary idea, right? And they realized, oh wait, this is just a horror game with horror stuff in it. So they unbanned it a few weeks later and gave it an adult rating, which means for about a month, Australia was officially afraid of nightmares. The whole thing is based on a pre-release version anyway, so Australia banned a game that didn't even exist yet, arresting someone for a crime they might commit in a dream they haven't had. Peak government IQ right there. And you know what the really crazy part is? The game's actually pretty tame compared to most horror movies out there. But apparently watching graphic fake gore is fine. Fake nightmares with touchy subject matter are where we draw the line. Silent Hill Homecoming is your typical guy comes home to creepy town horror game. You play this soldier who shows up and finds out his hometown has gone completely insane. There are monsters everywhere, fog that won't quit, and the general vibe of maybe I should have just stayed in the military. Most of the game is pretty standard Silent Hill stuff. Weird creatures, psychological horror, puzzles that make no sense and I want to quit the game after playing them. You fight nurses with knives, giant spiders, the usual nightmare fuel. Nothing too crazy by horror game standards, just your average Tuesday in Silent Hill. But then there's this one scene, one single scene that made Australia go, absolutely the f not. That's my Australian accent. Some guy gets tied to a chair and another character comes at him with a power drill. And they show it, like they really show it. The drill going towards his eye, him screaming, the whole damn thing. Australia looked at this and said, yeah, mate, we're really gonna need you to not do that. Which is fair, honestly. Like, you can have all the monster fights you want, but the second you break out the power tools on a human being, people start getting uncomfortable. Which is almost like it was the entire point of the game. But no, Australia had a little hissy fit about it. Honestly, after researching this video, I'm starting to realize that despite Australia being home of the most deadliest everything that ever exists, they're kind of scared of horror games. So anyways, the studios had to edit it. Instead of showing the drill actually making contact, they just cut away. Problem solved, right? Except now you have this really intense buildup to nothing, which I can relate to a lot. It's like watching a horror movie when you know a jump scare is coming right around the corner and there's this big cinematic riser and then the camera just pans to like someone banging a door. It sucks. Germany also banned it, which makes sense because Germany has this thing about realistic violence. They're fine with shooting aliens or zombies, but the second you start torturing regular people with everyday power tools, they're out. Can't really blame them for that one, I guess. Funny thing is, everything else in the game is totally fine. You can cut monsters in half with an axe, no problem. You can fight nurses with syringes, totally cool. But one drill scene, that's where we draw the line. But at least that was targeting adults. Things get a lot weirder when children's games start to cross lines. So Maryam is this mobile game that looks like it was made for kids. There's this little girl named Maryam who's lost in a forest and she needs help getting home. Sounds sweet, right? Like a digital version of helping an old lady cross the street. Except instead of crossing the street, you're answering some really weird questions. The game starts asking stuff like, what's your name and where do you live? Which is already kind of weird for a kid's game. Like, imagine if Roblox suddenly wanted your home address. That's not suspicious at all, but kids don't think about stuff like that. They just want to help the nice little girl get home. But parents and governments in the Middle East took one look at this and completely freaked out. Saudi Arabia banned it. The UAE banned it. They basically treated this kids game like it was some kind of terrorist plot, which, to be fair, a children's app asking for personal information is very sketchy. Everyone was comparing it to the Blue Whale Challenge, or like Momo, a thing that supposedly made kids do bad things to themselves through online dares. Except Maryam was just asking questions. Creepy questions, sure, but not like jump off a building questions. More like tell me about your family questions. Still weird, but different kind of weird. Realistically, what was probably going on here is they were probably trying to find information out from the kids to sell the information to advertisers, because that's the ultimate evil out there when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the UAE's attorney general actually got involved. Like, imagine being so important that your job is literally running a country and you have to spend time banning a mobile game about a lost little girl. That's either really good priorities or really bad ones, depending on how you look at it. But here's the thing. Parents were genuinely scared because the game felt real. Kids would talk to Miriam like she was their friend. And when a fake little girl starts asking your real kid where they live, that's when playtime turns into call the police. The whole thing got pulled from the app stores across the Gulf, which is probably for the best, honestly. There's enough creepy stuff on the internet without adding games that feel like they're trying to collect data on kids. Of course, that's nothing compared to banning games based on completely made up rumors. Rule of Rose is this weird psychological horror game about a girl stuck in an orphanage run by crazy kids. Think Lord of the Flies, but with more tea parties and less understanding of human rights. The whole thing is creepy and symbolic, but it's not like Call the Police level of disturbing, just regular video game kind of weird. But somehow, this game managed to get the entire European Union mad. Not just regular mad, like we need to discuss this in Parliament mad. The EU Justice Commissioner actually got involved. Imagine being so important that you help run Europe and you're spending your Tuesday talking about a PlayStation 2 game. Here's the best part. The whole thing was based on rumors that weren't even true. Someone started spreading stories about how the game had kids being buried alive and all this horrible stuff. Except none of that was actually in the game. It's like if I told everyone that Mario was actually about animal cruelty because you step on turtles. Which, unironically, I think the Game Theory has made like videos on that exact topic. So, you know. Got all these politicians making speeches about how evil this game is, and literally none of them have played it. They're just going off what some guy on the internet said. It's like writing a YouTube comment based on someone else's YouTube comment that they both didn't ever actually watch the video, which are most people that watch my channel. Actual game is just kids being mean to each other in a spooky orphanage. Yeah, it's disturbing, but so is every episode of any reality TV show. These politicians were acting like the game was teaching kids how to build bombs or something. The UK publisher got so scared of all the angry politicians that they just canceled the release entirely. They basically said, you know what, let's not deal with this shit. So a game got banned without anyone even bothering to check if the reasons for banning it were real. France was ready to pass actual laws about it. Italy's mayor was giving press conferences, all because of a rumor about content that didn't exist. It's literally as if the government was banning hamburgers because someone said there was actual human meat in them, but it's all a rumor. How dumb are governments? Now the game is this rare collector's item because nobody could buy it legally. So congratulations, Europe. You turned a mediocre horror game into a valuable antique through the power of doing nothing. But sometimes games are actually brutal enough to deserve the government attention, and both exist. Manhunt is basically what happens when someone at Rockstar Games goes, you know what Grand Theft Auto needs? More murder and less fun. You play this death row guy who has to kill people on camera for some psycho filmmaker's entertainment. It's like if someone made a video game version of Saw, except somehow even more messed up. The whole point is sneaking around and killing gang members in the most violent ways possible. And I mean violent. We're talking plastic bag suffocation, glass shards, wire garroting, basically every murder weapon you can find in a hardware store. The game literally rates your kills based on how brutal they are. 5 stars for creativity, apparently. New Zealand took one look at this and said, absolutely not. This is illegal now. Not just we won't sell it, but actually illegal. Like possession of this game became a crime, which is wild because New Zealand is usually pretty chill about everything. But apparently turning murder into a scoring system for a game was their line in the sand. And they meant it. People actually got arrested for trying to sell Manhunt in New Zealand. Real arrests, real court cases, real fines. Imagine having to call your mom from jail and explaining that you got busted for video game trafficking. What are you in for? I sold a video game. Germany also banned it and started confiscating copies like it was contraband. German police were literally raiding stores to seize video games. Picture explaining that to your partner at the end of the day. How was work, honey? Oh, you know, took down another PlayStation 2 smuggling operation. Just another day in my job as a German cop. Australia, of course, jumped on the bandwagon too. Their customs agents were trained to spot Manhunt shipments like they were looking for illegal drugs. Except instead of stopping drug dealers, they're stopping gamers who really like stealth mechanics. The game became actual contraband in multiple countries. Like if you got caught with a copy at the airport, customs would treat you like you were smuggling something genuinely dangerous, which, to be fair, might be accurate depending on your opinion of Rockstar's game design philosophy and how long they're taking to make GTA 6. That should be a crime in itself. But at least Manhunt tried to have a plot, unlike games that just embrace the pure chaos. I've been waiting to talk about this one. Postal 2 is this game where you play a guy called the Postal Dude, which is already not a great sign. His big goal in life is running errands, like literally just normal stuff. Get milk, return a book, pick up your paycheck. Sounds boring, right? Wrong, because you can also choose to complete these errands by setting everyone on fire. The game gives you a grocery list and then hands you a flamethrower. It's literally like if someone made a video game about your mom's to-do list, but you can also commit war crimes. Honey, can you stop at the store? Also, here's a machete in case Susan asks too many questions again. But here's where it gets really weird. You can use a cat as a gun silencer. Just stick your gun up a cat and suddenly you're John Wick. Except John Wick probably wouldn't use a pet as a firearm. The game also treats this like it's totally normal, which makes it somehow worse. This managed to get banned in like half of the world. New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Brazil, countries that agree on literally nothing all looked at Postal 2 and went, yeah, this is too much, which is actually kind of impressive. Getting that many governments to agree on anything is basically impossible, but somehow a guy peeing on people brought world peace. Oh yeah, you can pee on people. That's an actual game mechanic. Someone at the studio had a meeting where they seriously discussed the physics of digital urination. Imagine that conversation. So how realistic should the pee stream be? That's a real sentence someone got paid to say. This is worse than like jiggle physics, which are definitely a thing people talk about in gaming companies. New Zealand made owning this game a literal crime. Like you could get fined $2,000 just for having it on your computer. That's more than some people pay for actual crimes. Imagine explaining to your friends that you got busted for video game possession. Yeah, man, the cops found my stash of offensive comedy games. I'm going to jail for 6 months. The whole thing is supposed to be satire, but it's hard to call something satire when it lets you murder people for asking you to sign a petition. That's not commentary. That's just a Tuesday in Florida. But Postal 2 at least pretended to be funny. Some games just embrace pure evil. Hatred is what happens when someone makes a video game and decides to remove every single thing that might make it fun or remotely defensible. You play as this guy called the antagonist, which tells you everything you need to know about this game subtly, and his only goal is killing as many random people as possible. That's it. That's the whole game. No zombies, no aliens, no evil corporations, just some guy who woke up and decided, you know what? Everyone needs to die. He literally gives a speech about how much he hates humanity and how he's going to fix that problem with, you know. Most violent games at least pretend there's a reason for all the violence. Save the world, stop the bad guys, protect your family. Hatred doesn't bother with any of that. The main character just walks into a shopping mall and starts going kablamo. Because apparently that's entertainment now. Germany looked at this and they didn't just ban it, they went nuclear. They banned the game, they banned videos about the game, and basically tried to delete it from the internet entirely. German authorities were going after YouTube videos of people playing it. Imagine being a German government worker whose job is watching YouTube to make sure nobody's posting banned video game footage. I might get a call from the German police after posting this video. Who knows? If I don't post again, I'm dead or in jail or worse. Even Steam, which basically sells everything, decided this was too much for Australia. They just geo-blocked it before anyone could complain. Steam sells games where you can be a serial killer, a drug dealer, or a goat that destroys cities. But apparently being a guy who just really hates everyone was where they drew the line. In America, it got an adults only rating, which is basically the video game equivalent of saying we legally have to sell this, but we really don't want to. Most consoles won't even run adult only games. So congratulations, Hatred. You made something so offensive that America said it was too much. And America is the king of being offensive. The developers knew exactly what they were doing too. They marketed it as the game so controversial it got banned, which is like opening a restaurant and advertising that the health department shut you down. Not exactly a selling point for most people. So if learning about games that can get you arrested was somehow entertaining, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos disguised as entertainment. Drop a comment about which banned game you'd like to risk jail time to play. I need to know how many of you have questionable life priorities. I really want to get familiar with my audience, you know? And if you want to see more videos about similar subjects and horror, you should click the video on screen right now.